you reprogram your brain and you become a different person. And what you have to understand is before your external results prove who you are, your transformation is taking place internally. It's internal. Everything reflected in your life, your results, everything you manifest first starts internally, right? So if you're changing your thoughts and then you start changing your behavior and people start to recognize you as as this different person, that's going to attract different people in your life. That's going to attract different opportunities. And then you're going to start to make changes over time. Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Michael Crane, and we're down here in beautiful Santa Barbara, California at the Unstoppable HQ. You guys know what to do. Before I get into this message, I want you to share and subscribe my channel, this message. We need to share it with more people, okay, you guys? And I got a really powerful message for you today. You know, I want to talk to you about how to change your life. If you're somebody listening to this message right now, and you're not where you want to be at in life, you don't have the results you want, you know that there's more out there for you, but you just feel stuck. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to feel stuck, even hopeless. And a lot of times people who are stuck, they're just not trying hard enough. But I want to talk to that individual that really wants to change. Let's say you want to improve your habits and your mentality. Let's say you want to improve your relationships. Maybe it's your health. You want to get in better shape. Maybe you want to have a better career, a better job. You want to make more money. Well, the first step in changing your life is changing the way you think. Okay, so I want you to get out a notepad or a pen. I got one right here in front of me. And I want you to take notes as I'm sharing these messages and these tips today, because it's going to help you immensely. But the first step is actually writing stuff down. When you write information down as you're listening to it, research shows that you retain up to 30% more of that information, and probably a higher number than that, honestly. You know, there's a lot of people that go to seminars and events or they listen to podcasts, and it literally just goes in one ear out the other. It's entertainment, but it doesn't actually stick long enough to change their life. So if you're somebody that really wants to transform your life, get out a notepad, get out a pen, pause this episode, and come back and press play when you have something to write with in front of you. Now, I want you to ask yourself, like, okay, if I'm not where I want to be in life right now, just have the whole picture and vision of your life in your mind. Ask yourself, what do I actually need to change? Like, what are those things that I know in my heart need to change or I need to get rid of if I want to improve the quality of my life? I want you to write down what those things are. It might be habits. It might be people. It might be your job. It might be, you know, that you're smoking weed. It might be that you're watching TV. It might be that you're not working out. Like, write down your truth. We all have a truth about who we want to be. Okay. Now, a lot of people become disconnected from that truth over time because they just get numb. They become numb in their lives. Maybe they're drinking, maybe they're consuming too much content, maybe they're going through the motions, but you just check out. You're like numb. You're like a drone or a zombie, just going through the motions in your life. So what I want to help you do right now is get more awareness. I want you to get some awareness so that you can apply it in your life and change over time. So I want you to write down those things I just mentioned. What needs to change? Now, the second thing you have to recognize is everything in your life is manifested, meaning it's created. You have created your life, whether you realize it or not. It's not the government. It's not your parents. It's not society. Those things do have an effect on you, and they will manipulate you or they will get you to behave a certain way. But ultimately, it's your choice. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything anyone tells you. You don't have to follow suit. You don't have to follow the rules if you don't want to. You could be a rebel. Okay. And sometimes this is a good thing, but I want you to understand this right now, that you are in control. You need to really understand this. Nobody else is going to make you live your life a certain way. Okay. There are factors and forces weighing upon you, but you have the ultimate choice. You have the final say in what you do and what you don't do. Okay. So if we're recognizing that we're manifesting our lives, that's the first step. Most people manifest a life they don't want. How crazy is that? You have created a life that you don't actually love. You have created a life that you don't want to live. Why have you done that? Why did you do that to yourself? I want you to think about that, okay? Now, we can't change the past, but it's important to understand the past if we want to improve the future, right? Because there's patterns in the way we live our lives. So if you've created a life that is not 100% what you want, ask yourself why. Why did I make those decisions? Why did I settle? Why did I do things a certain way? Was I, like I said earlier, did I see other people doing things so I did it? Was I manipulated? Was I influenced? You know, was it my parents? Did they have expectations of me? Did I see my friends going to college or getting married, and so I did too? Did I see them getting these 9 to 5 jobs, so I did too? Were my friends, were they not going to the gym? Were they eating bad? Like, you typically become a certain way because you're influenced to be that way. Okay. So if you don't want to be that way in the future, let's take control of your life right now. Let's recognize how it happens. You're manifesting everything based on your actions and choices every day. Where do those behaviors stem from? Your behaviors stem initially from your thoughts. Your daily thoughts become habitual patterns or actions in your life that create certain outcomes. So if you don't want the life that you're living right now and 5 years from now, the first thing that we have to be aware of and start to change is your thoughts. Because your thoughts are what manifest into daily actions that become results. You have to recognize that. You don't just do things to do them. You think about them, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, and then you behave them or act them out. Okay, so I want to point out some facts for you here, and I want you to really take this into consideration. Okay, 90 to 95% of your thoughts right now are reoccurring. Now, studies show that human beings have anywhere from 6,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. That's a really big, gap there, okay? But what that tells me is you have a lot of thoughts every day. Now, whether you have 6,000 conscious thoughts or 50,000 thoughts that are conscious and unconscious, the point is you're constantly thinking and those thoughts are turning into habitual actions. So if you have bad habits, if you have behaviors that are manifesting a life you don't want, let's start at the very beginning. What's the first step? It's being aware of what your thoughts are. How do you become aware of what your thoughts are? Because check this out. A lot of your thoughts don't serve you if they're repetitive. If your thoughts are reoccurring and you're in a life you don't want, those thoughts are not going to help you to create a different life. You have to first change your thoughts. That means we first have to be aware of where do our thoughts come from? What am I thinking on a daily basis? And I remember when this happened to me. Thank God I got locked into a jail cell where I couldn't leave for 23, 24 hours a day. Like, how many of you have that much time to sit and think? Nobody does. You have responsibilities, right? So I don't expect you to sit around and think all day like I did. But what I learned from being in my jail cell is I learned how to get connected and attuned to my thoughts. I learned awareness. That's a skill set. You see, most people just go throughout their day and they're reacting. They're going through the motions. They're doing the same thing they did yesterday and they never change. Therefore, you're thinking the same way, you're behaving the same way, and you're manifesting the same outcomes you say you don't want. So the first step is let's learn how to generate awareness. And what I'd recommend is see in front of me, if you're watching this right now on YouTube, I have a pen and a paper. And I'm always sitting down, whether I'm in my office or at home, and I'm writing out ideas and thoughts. And I'm analyzing those ideas and thoughts. And when I read books, I'm analyzing what I'm reading, and I'm writing about how it's making me feel or creative ideas and thoughts that particular subject or that particular paragraph has triggered in me. So I remember when I started changing my life, it was in prison. And the reason I started changing my life is because I developed awareness. I started thinking about what I was thinking. This is referred to by psychologists as metacognition. Metacognition is thinking about your thoughts. Have you ever been sitting there and you have a thought and then you go, oh, wow, I wonder why I thought that. Or that thought triggers another thought. Like, the ability to have that type of awareness is life-changing. Okay? Because otherwise, if you're not aware of those thoughts, they're just happening unconsciously and they're driving you to feel a certain way and to behave a certain way. And you're not really in control of your life. Okay? So when I was in jail, I started having awareness of my thoughts. And I started challenging any thoughts or ideas that didn't align to who I wanted to be. Like, if I had a thought about being violent, or if I had a thought about using drugs or alcohol, or I had a negative thought or feeling about my parents or something from the past that I couldn't change, I started challenging myself right there on the spot. But I wouldn't just sit there and think about it. You have to actually get this stuff out onto paper so you can analyze it and you can see it. It becomes tangible when you write it down. So I started journaling. Now, this is the first step. If you're somebody that wants to change your life, the first step is starting to develop awareness around your thoughts and writing out your thoughts and feelings every day. Now, when I was younger, I thought this sounded so corny. I thought about, girls and people with diaries. And I thought it was lame to write about your feelings and ideas. And so because of that, I stayed stuck in my life. But when I was in jail, I had no one to talk to and I felt very lonely. And when I started writing out my thoughts and feelings every day, I actually started to develop a relationship with myself. And it helped me to analyze myself more and really get clear on who I'd become versus who I had wanted to be. And so that's so important for you guys to recognize. Like, if you want to be a different person, you have to start challenging current thoughts you have, because those thoughts are rooted in beliefs. Like if you're thinking something about a person, about your life, about your job, about your wife, about your kids, if you're thinking something, it stems from your values and your beliefs. And those are deeply ingrained into you. And a lot of people never get clear on what those values and beliefs are. And so they drive their behavior for their entire life. So when I was in jail, I had the ability to challenge beliefs, challenge thoughts. And because of that, I started to change my self-talk. You know, your self-talk is literally the relationship you're building with yourself and how you're describing your life and the expectations for what you're going to do. And so I would sit there every day and I would just write stuff out about my past that I wanted to change. I'd write out ideas for the future. And over the course of years, I started literally changing those reoccurring thoughts and those patterns I had in my brain. So guess what happened next? My daily actions changed. Before prison, I would work, I would drink, I would party, I'd hang out with toxic friends, and I was just going through the motions of my life. In prison, I was sober. I'd get up early. I'd work out like a beast 1 or 2 times a day. I read so many books I can't even count. I studied all these different subjects in psychology, anatomy, biology, human and behavioral sciences. I wrote every day. So I started changing fundamental components of who I was becoming through those daily actions. This is the thing. If you don't change your daily habits, you're never going to change your outcomes in life. In order to change your daily habits, you first have to start changing the way you think. You have to be aware of what these new behaviors are. You have to be aware of what you're no longer going to do. You have to start to develop this high level awareness. This is so key in order to see the future and move into that future. And so when you write stuff out, it gives you the opportunity to pause and reflect on it. And whatever you write out, whether it's a thought, an idea, or a feeling, that triggers a next thought, idea, or feeling. And so over the course of doing this over time, you reprogram your brain and you become a different person. And what you have to understand is before your external results prove who you are, your transformation is taking place internally. It's internal. Everything reflected in your life, your results, everything you manifest first starts internally, right? So if you're changing your thoughts and then you start changing your behavior and people start to recognize you as this different person, that's going to attract different people in your life. That's going to attract different opportunities. And then you're going to start to make changes over time. Okay. So remember this, you guys. Some research shows that you have upwards of 60,000 thoughts per day. 90 to 95% of those are reoccurring. They're the same. And for a lot of people, they're negative. Now, I want to ask you this. Why do you think they say that 75% of those reoccurring thoughts are negative? It's because you're not happy with your fucking life. You're not happy with your life. Otherwise, they'd be positive. You'd be centered around gratitude. You'd be thinking about all the good you're doing in your life. You'd be so excited about the changes you're making, the goals you're crushing, the life that you've manifested, that you wouldn't have negative thoughts. If you're having those negative thoughts, it's because you've settled, you're holding back, and you're not living the life that you truly want to live. I just told you what the first step is to break that pattern and to take control of your life. But look most of you lack the discipline and you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And that's why you're going to stay stuck, because you're going to do the same fucking thing you've been doing, hoping, praying, wishing that somehow, some way things are going to change. And Einstein said that that's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results. If you want to make a change in your life, it's up to you. The government's not going to do it. Your parents aren't going to do it. Your wife's not going to do it. Your friends aren't going to do it. Your colleagues at work aren't going to do it. It's you. It's your thoughts, your daily actions, and those habits that manifest your outcomes. Take control of your life. Create a life you love and cherish. Stop being a victim. You're in control.